A lot of books there. I'm trying to find a decent place where I don't spill the beer and I don't drop all the books on the floor.
You're asking a lot.
I know. All right. Fail. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, what's up there, Internet? I'm Troy to the max extreme.
And I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
Together with our power rings, we form IMPERIUS REX.
Yep.
This episode is a little different, something a little fun.
That's yet to be seen.
It's not over any current storyline, any past storyline. We're doing...
Unsubscribe.
We're doing something supplemental to the comic book literature.
Comic book literature.
Yeah, it's exactly it.
Not a big fan either.
Okay, stay with me.
Okay.
I just finished reading Marvel Comics: The Untold Story. And
do you have it here? Can you show me?
Unfortunately, I couldn't find it. I don't remember where it is, but I read it. Don't you worry about it.
It's in a bathroom somewhere.
And I really dug it, and I thought it'd be a fun episode to do stories and books kind of like that, where it's about the comic book industry and what is happening upstairs.
My dog is just going nuts. You want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts. Intro titles. So Marvel Comics: The Untold Story is, I'm going to say, the dirt sheets of Marvel Comics.
Ooh.
If anyone is
Mudraking.
Yeah, a little bit. This guy, Sean Howe, who wrote it, really went into deep detail on the history of how Marvel was created from when it was Timely Comics, and even before that when it was another publishing, and how Archie Goodwin and his family kind of bought it and made this a whole thing, and then how Stan Lee got into the fold and where it went from there, where they voted him into the president of the company, and how it went almost up until the early 2000s.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it went from almost, I think, the 30s, or maybe even before that. It might have gave a history of the whole the guy who started the company and when he was born. And went 70, 80 years into where it's almost kind of currently is. And the one thing it does is doesn't paint Stan Lee in a very great light.
Ooh. Well, I guess this is a little topical then.
But the reason he's in the company and everything, because he was related, he was a cousin to the people who own Marvel Comics, so they didn't fire him, but they laid a ton of other people off when the dips and ebbs and flows of the publication company or whatever. And anytime there was a snafu where they were just hemorrhaging money, they would just call it a different company and then start it again, and then they'd start from scratch, and then they would just do that. The whole timeline of it's very foggy, because I think at a current point in time it was 3 things within 20 years, 3 different publications, until it finally went to Marvel Comics, and then Stan Lee took over as editor-in-chief while also writing
12 books,
however many titles, and it went on from there. And then it went on to tell their troubles with bankruptcy around the 90s, where they were almost out, and it was almost bought by Warner Brothers.
Yeah, they sold off a lot of their main characters and properties for film rights.
Right, and that was their last ditch effort to find any little bit of money, or otherwise they would have not stayed afloat. And there was I think comments in maybe the Amazon purchase that I bought it under, in the comments, can you imagine if they never sold those rights off, and then somebody was then Marvel Comics would never be alive today.
Yeah.
They would be folded.
Well, they've recouped, and as of now, they've pretty much re-established all of these characters that they sold off, too.
Right.
So we're living in the age where, for the longest time, oh, give the rights back to Marvel. Can you imagine if X-Men and Fantastic Four are Marvel? Well, now we have it. We don't know what they're doing with it yet, but we're back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. And, like, it's because of the movies that now it's a big thing. Like, there's... Iron Man is one of the more popular characters ever, and I don't know if his title ever sold any more than 50,000 copies.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Was that a Stan Lee, too? Did he do Iron Man?
I think Iron Man was a Stan Lee thing, yeah.
Huh. Yeah. You should consult the book.
Oh, I wish I had it here to do that.
Ah, shit.
It is a big, thick read, but it's, like, in the back in the appendix, it's got, like, all of his info that he got everything from, and where he pieced things together from, like, Jack Kirby notes and Stan Lee's family and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's...
Is it very Stan Lee focused?
For a big chunk of it, it is. Like, after he kind of leaves and only becomes, like, the... Like
Ronald McDonald?
Yeah, like the figurehead of Marvel, even though he doesn't work for the company anymore. Like, it kind of tackles other things, but that's when the kind of the book starts to wrap up or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, it does feature around him and, like, a lot of Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
A lot of Jack Kirby, because he's, like, in and out and pissed off at everybody and, like...
Well, that
mostly Stan Lee.
That was the era too, where like the term Marvel method was coined for the writing style, where the writer would submit to the artist a like page and a half of synopsis of the story.
Yeah,
the artist would make 24 pages of that.
Yeah,
and then the writer would go back in and fill in the word balloons after seeing the panel layout.
Yeah,
so I mean, you can see why people want to credit Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, all these artists, as being just as influential, if not more influential, than like the writers themselves.
Right. Yeah, and that's very apparent in this book.
Yeah.
Because, like, I think Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby, like, got fed up at a point where they didn't even come to the offices anymore. They would just mail in their stuff, and then it would all be colored and inked and, like, written over with like Stan Lee's dialogue or whatever, and it would just come out and they didn't even know what was in it.
Really?
Or some things would be just fully redrawn by somebody else.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe not with like Jack Kirby stuff, but it's like sometimes they would come in and just like, no, the whole thing needs to be redrawn.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So it's like, what is happening?
What a different age, that time was.
Right.
But, I mean, no knock to Stan Lee. I mean, whatever it was, he's very instrumental in all of these creations.
Right. If they wouldn't really have, like, any of these characters if they didn't have, like, some spark of idea, like, make some sort of insect man.
Yeah.
It's Spider-Man. Excelsior!
Do another one! Ant-Man. One more!
Wasp? Great! Yeah.
All right. So that sounds good.
Yeah, it is really good. Very interesting.
And where's it? You say it goes all the way up to like 2000s?
Yeah, like 2005, maybe 2010, maybe would be the latest. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Well, if we're passing the torch here,
go for it.
Or the hot potato, I would recommend. I'm a sucker for Grant Morrison, but Grant Morrison wrote a book. National bestseller by the looks of it, called SuperGods. And this is kind of a mix of his life story, autobiography, along with a very like detailed synopsis and recap of comics from like the golden to the silver to the current age, where he talks about, Batman, Superman, all that, all the way up to Watchmen, Dark Knight, and a lot of his own work too.
Sure.
So it is a great insight into the mind of a madman or a genius writer, depending on your thoughts on him. It delves into his own weird alien abduction history, all that, whatever you make of it, and how that influenced his own writing on books like Animal Man and The Invisibles, Flex Mentallo. So if you are a fan of Morrison and his stuff, this is great. It gives you a lot more background to further appreciate his stories, and it also gives you like a great like 101 class on the history of comics.
Oh, cool!
From like its inception to where it's at today.
I've always wanted to read that. I never got around to it yet.
Yeah, and like he's a fan and a scholar, at the same time. Like he's a writer, but he's extremely knowledgeable about it, and he's one of the few that doesn't praise Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns and all these very influential comics of the 80s.
Yeah.
He enjoys them. He sees like their merit, but
Yeah.
I don't think he sees them as like the be-all, end-all of comics.
Right.
And I think he kind of criticizes them for ushering in a very like cynical, nihilistic, dark age of comics that happened after that.
Yeah.
So I mean, you read his stuff like All-Star Superman, and he's very like inspiring. You know, you want to do good.
Yeah.
This book kind of explains why. You know.
Oh, great. Cool.
So it's really cool and well written. If you're a fan of the guy, definitely check it out.
Awesome.
And it has its own mask that you can cut out right there.
You've got the world's smallest face.
Yes.
My next one is Batman and Psychology by Travis Langley. This is a very deep dive into Batman's psychosis, and not only his, but almost all of his supporting cast as well.
Mm-hmm.
And have you ever read this one yet, Dave?
I think you borrowed it to me, and I kind of skimmed it.
Yeah.
I read like the villains that I was interested in and all that.
Right. Yeah. It goes very deep into Batman and like what like the real person behind the mask would be, and like I think he ends up saying like the real Batman or the real person is like Bruce Wayne in the cave, hood or cowl down, and like only talking to Alfred. That's the real Batman. Like he's not putting on a Batman face out in the public.
I get that.
He's not pretending to be Bruce Wayne.
It's Batman at his most comfortable.
Yeah.
Unguarded.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alfred offering him fishy slaw.
Yeah, of course. Or some hot chicken soup to nurse that cold that he picked up fighting Mr. Freeze.
Yeah. And then it goes on to like it goes into like Hugo Strange, Mad Hatter, Two-Face, like
Scarecrow
does.
good.
And like all of like because all of Batman's nemesis are
fractions of himself.
That's very true. And they go on to say like what ailment that could be diagnosed as.
Yeah.
As well as like is it really what it says to be? Like is Joker really a psychopath or is he a sociopath? Or,
right.
Or,
is Two-Face split personality.
Right. Or it's schizophrenic, or is they even go into like Mad Hatter, is he a pedophile or does he think that he is a child? Like it goes into like weird things like that, and it's really, really interesting. And I never thought like going into it that it would be as in depth, but the guy's a psychologist, so he really knows his stuff. And there's a ton of references in the back if you ever wanted to check him out. But like after I started reading this and went into like how people's brains work and how they did it with these fictional characters, I was hooked and I loved it.
Yeah, I think Batman is one of those characters that, like, psychologically, he might be the most interesting to explore.
Yeah.
And not only is he himself topic of conversation, like who's the real Batman, who's the real Bruce Wayne, all that, his villains are just as interesting.
Yeah.
Batman's got, like, the best rogues gallery.
Yeah.
And part of that is because, like, every one of them is kind of a poster child for a mental disorder, I guess.
Yeah.
And also, almost all of them, or at least the best ones, can be like related to a part of Batman's own psychology.
Yep, very true.
So yeah, really interesting read. Maybe more detail than you would ever need on some of these guys, but does it go into the Batman-Robin?
Yeah, it does.
Relationship?
I believe it does, yeah. It's been a while since I read that, but I believe it goes into the Batman-Robin relationship on how I want to say like he never really had like a childhood, and so he's trying to like give a person one at the same time. The only way he knows how to do it is make him a soldier.
Yeah.
Or like it's not like a father-son relationship so much as it is like a brother relationship. At least with Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to other people, it turns into like a fatherly role or something like that.
Or almost like a living vicariously through them.
Yeah, kind of like that too. But yeah, it goes through some of them as well. Really good read. I would check out Psychology of Batman, and it's got a forward by Michael Uslan and an introduction by Denny O'Neil too.
Ooh, Michael Uslan.
Yep.
All right. The next one, because I'm on a Morrison kick at all times of the day, I've got 3 really good recommendations from Sequart organization. They're a great organization, I guess,
Oh, yeah,
that
sure.
promotes the analysis and preservation of like comic books. They're big, like Neil Gaiman, Grant Morrison, Alan Moore, that type of aficionados.
Sure.
And because I always love researching Grant Morrison's works, there's
Yeah.
3 good recommendations here. If you are interested in learning more or even understanding the Invisibles, he's got this book, Our Sentence is Up, which is a really, really helpful and insightful series of essays, novel, really, about the Invisibles, almost issue by issue. And that is by, we should name who these are by here. Cat's trying to get in there. Patrick Meany. And it also has an interview with Grant Morrison.
Oh, wow. Got to the main man himself.
They do. And this is the group that did the Talking with Gods documentary that Morrison has.
That's good.
Yeah, it's really good. I think it's on YouTube.
Yep, it is.
Yep. And then there's 2 other ones. I'm going to be honest, I haven't read these yet because I haven't done a deep reread of his Batman run or his The Filth run. But these books go along with that, too, to further your reading experience. Grab that for me, Troy.
You bet.
So, by process of elimination, I'll talk about curing the postmodern blues. And this is about The Filth, Grant Morrison and Chris Weston's The Filth, which some people see as kind of a follow-up to The Invisibles. Not the same characters or universe, but a lot of the same themes. So this is a series of essays about that. I think it's like 10 or 12 issue series. And then for his Batman run, which he did an extensive run on Batman, there is the Anatomy of Zur-En-Arr.
Yep.
Which was
You
the...
went full pirate there, and I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, I don't know how else
to.
to say it. Understanding Grant Morrison's Batman. So the subtitle really says it all. And again, it's just about his run on Batman, which went for like, God, I don't know, 60 issues?
Yeah, it went for a while.
Yeah.
A stretch.
Are you feeling a Batman stretch this year?
Are you trying to bring back hashtag Bat Year?
We had a couple hashtag Bat Years that made the web.
Oh, man.
But if we did, it would give me an excuse to read this. Sequart, great organization. I completely recommend the quality of the stuff that they put out, so I'm sure this would be no different, and I would be interested in reading this and seeing all the ins and outs of the shit that I missed on the initial read of Grant Morrison's Batman run. So if you're a Morrison fan, these are instrumental.
Do you have any more?
Yeah.
All right, good. Go for it.
All right. Next one. If you are an aspiring comic book writer or artist, or you're interested in it, Brian Michael Bendis, Marvel mainstay, now DC...
Mainstay?
I don't know yet. Did a book about writing for comics. It's called Words for Pictures, and it goes through just a very like down-to-earth process that he takes when he writes his own stuff. Gives tips. He interviews famous writers and artists throughout. And it's also full of great pictures to reference. Well, not right now. There we go. To reference, you know, a lot of the stuff that he's talking about. So I'm kind of working off and on my own comic, and this was one of the first things that I picked up when I started it, because I'm like, hey, you know, this guy knows his way around comics.
He wrote a few things.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he says, and it was a lot of it's really helpful insight. Very just like cut and dry, right to the bone insight. It's not flowery. He doesn't like dress it up. It's just like, this is how I do it. It doesn't work for everybody, but you know,
there you go.
What I found. Yeah.
Here's a book.
Yep. So yeah, I would recommend it. It's a quick read, and it's helpful if you're interested in something like this.
Yeah. Something related that I didn't bring with me as well, but like more, if you're trying to get into comics, there's always like those guides to characters out and stuff like that. Which, like, being a reader for several years,
yeah,
like now I can be like, I kind of knock them a little bit, but those are definitely helped me get into comics as well.
Yeah, Scott MacLeod did like a series, or I know at least one big graphic novel called like Understand It Comics, I think, which is pretty well received, I believe.
And I was gifted something when I was like, I don't even know, 15 years old or something like that, called the Marvel Universe, and I've yet to find it again on like a Google search or an Amazon search. But like, it went in depth from where these characters conceived and like big major story arcs that they had up until maybe like right before 2000 or so like that. And like that's how I got up to speed with almost everything, where I could like jump in from there and like know a ton of their backstory.
Yeah.
Like, granted, it is dense. Like, it's a lot. But, like, at that point in time in my life, like, I was just eating it up. So I flew right through it.
Cool.
So, yeah, there's that. And then, the end-all, be-all of the comic book supplementary material is Frederick Wortham's MD's Seduction of the Innocent.
Oh, put in that camera right
Boom.
there.
Seduction of the Innocent.
Look at that. What a relic.
Hardcover. That's right.
Did you read this?
I've yet to read it because I don't want to be turned off by the... I don't want it to sway my mind.
No, absolutely not.
But I just have it as like a little memento of like what in a point in time...
I
like,
love that
this is what people thought about comic books.
A lot of the studies in this have been since proved like they were completely falsified.
Yeah. Completely falsified.
Yeah.
But like
what a prick.
I am looking to finally read this sometime soon.
Read like a page a day.
Yeah, and just laugh.
See how it warps your mind.
I would love it. Or maybe be turned off by comics in general.
Could be.
You know what? This guy really had a point there.
By the time we get to season 5, your viewpoint's very shifted.
So yeah, Seduction of the Innocent. Obviously, this isn't a first printing or anything, but I found this for like $15 on the internet or something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that they're still printing it, to be honest.
Oh yeah, you would think someone would have bought this publisher out and like burned them all.
Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, that's some fun.
Wait.
Oh my goodness.
I have a special guest.
Do you
We're
really?
going to be joined by none other
This is a surprise to me, folks. I don't know what is happening.
than Stan Lee himself.
Oh my god, I forgot about this.
Oh, I was given this as a gift. I think it was at Barnes & Noble or Borders or one of those on the discount bin. But look at this. This is Marvel Stan Lee's
Amazing Marvel Universe.
Yep. So this is like just a big hardcover fun book, but the true treasure of this is it comes with like one of those kids like audiobooks.
In those days, the post office had a law saying that the publishers couldn't call a comic magazine a magazine.
With insight from Stan Lee.
Really riveting stuff.
Oh my god, it's great. It is amazing. There are...
Like Stanley taking his time telling you about how a publisher couldn't call it a magazine.
There are 68 sound bites from Stan Lee that go along with like all of his creations here. Oh man, let me find a good one here. No, I don't want to find one. Let's just spin the Russian roulette of Stan Lee and see what we got here.
I thought they needed sort of a battle cry. And when they had to get together to fight some deadly villains, I'd have them shout, "Avengers Assemble!" And I loved that. I'd have it lettered in big letters. And boy, when you heard Avengers Assemble, you knew something was going to happen.
You knew shit was going down.
And that's why
Thanks,
Stan Lee is Stan Lee.
Yes. So this, I don't know, it's just a fun book. It would be shit without Stan Lee, but every time I look at it, I have Stan Lee telling me stories.
I love it.
I don't know if you can find this anywhere. I've never looked it up. It's just one of those relics that I have in my room, and it's great.
Oh,
I play it for my kid. I think he thinks that Stan Lee is his grandpa. And it's just awesome. The batteries still work. I don't know what I'm gonna do when they run out. Oh, I guess I can replace them.
There you go.
Look at that.
Easily replaceable batteries.
Oh man, infinite Stan Lee wisdom at your fingertips.
Oh.
So this is really the crown jewel in my collection. It's so great. You just hear Stan Lee's thoughts on all kinds of things, like the death of Gwen Stacy, Fing Fang Foom,
oh my goodness,
Doctor Doom. There's a post-it note that says "boom" here. Only saying that because it rhymes with what I'm saying. Don't know what that means, but look at that. This is great. If you can find this, buy it. Stan Lee, put your kids to bed every night.
Oh my god. Perfect. Perfect ending to this episode.
Absolutely. Man, you really shouldn't have badmouthed him earlier. Didn't know he'd be on the show.
We went full circle to being good again, so there you go.
Yeah, what a legend.
But that's some supplementary material for you, for any comic fan out there, to see what else there is out in the world to boost your love of comic books.
That's right. There's plenty. And like we just did a small little helping. There's a lot out there. But, you know, these are kind of specialized markets here.
Yeah.
The Grant Morrison market and everything else.
That's right. So if you out there have anything that you enjoyed, let us know in the comments down below. The comments down below.
We need to have some comics in this.
And
a lot of us in this episode.
we will definitely take a look at those and maybe purchase those and read those ourselves. But until next time, I've been Short of the Max Extreme.
And I've been Ghost Hunter Dave.
And this has been Imperius Rex.
And if you tune in next week, we're going to hit up Paper Keg's favorite.
We got it.
Drum roll. Fear Agent.
That's right. Big Library Editions Volumes 1 and 2 are going to be spoken of in our next
so heavy
episode.
Oh.
Strengthen up those wrists.
I know. I got small wrists. Can't help it.
But yeah, Fear Agent up next. Get into it,
Let us know what you think.
please. Until next time, bye-bye.
Hey.